Hey guys, how you doing? Today we're going to be doing an exercise that shows you how to use layers. If you don't already know, you have some experience already. But what's new is we're going to look at gradients, filters, and editing text a little bit more than we have before. Now this comes from the Adobe Photoshop Edition Classroom in a book. These files and this lesson, just to give them credit. Pretty good book. If you want to sit down and learn, you can get this book and go through the whole thing, and you'll be pretty darn good at Photoshop. That plus some practice, quite a few hours of practice. So don't think you're going to get it in an instant, but you will get it. So what I want you to do is choose File, Open, and go to where you have your files that I gave you, whether it's on the student drive or on your desktop. I want to look at what we're going to do. Notice in Windows Explorer here, you can control click to select more than one file. So if I want to open all three of these, I'm hitting the control key, or only the top and then the bottom, see end and beach. Right now, I'm going to click away to deselect all. I'm going to select O4 end and O4 start, and I just want to look at the differences. Here they come. Now, sometimes it's hard to see more than one document at a time. You could pull them off and detach them from the application frame. But a better way probably for this is just to choose Window, Arrange. I'm going to choose to up vertical arrange. See now, I'll put the layers panel in the middle. My little face here is getting in the way. There's nowhere to put it. I'll have to put it over here. So anyway, as I make one document active, see I'm clicking in the workspace in this document. You can see how many more layers there are in this one that's finished, and look at the difference. This is just a picture of a pineapple. Some of the layers are hidden by clicking the eye icon on and off. Okay. And this is the finish. This is what it will look like. You could close this without saving it or just minimize it if you need to look at it for reference. But I'm not going to grade you on whether it looks exactly like this or not. Okay. I just, if you follow along, you won't need it. I'm going to close mine, but you can, and you can reopen it later, whatever you do, if you needed to. All right. So here we go. So first thing to do, best practices dictate that we save it as a new name so we don't overwrite the old file and ruin it for everybody else. So I'll choose Save As. I have this option in mind. I'll navigate to where I save my Photoshop work. Here's Jason Nailit's Photoshop on my desktop. And I'm going to change the name to include my name. So it's 04 Start Nailit's. That's going to act as my working copy. When I'm all done, I'll probably rename it again. For if I was really making a postcard, I'd probably name it, Hawaii postcard, and maybe save it as a TIFF and send it to the person who's printing it, and that would be it. I would keep my Photoshop document intact with all the layers, though, in case you say, you know what, it's going to be Monte Carlo, not Hawaii. Can you change it? And that would make it easy for me to go in and just change one layer. That's the beauty of Photoshop. Part of the beauty of Photoshop. Okay, so make sure your layers panel is open. After all this, if you haven't and you don't have it, you can hit F7 on your keyboard. It's up at the top, F7. And if I hit F7, I'm getting volume. So I have to hold the Shift key or something. I'm not used to this laptop yet. Anyway, the way to do it will be go Window, Layers, and you can see the shortcut here. When there is a shortcut, it'll be here, F7. All right. So Window, Layer. Make sure you have that open. Now, mine's looking really small, and I don't like that for teaching. So I can go up to the panel flyout menu. You must know that most panels will have this, and there are further adjustments you can make here. Panel options, and I'm going to choose largest thumbnail I can. And you can see now it's bigger, easier for me to see. It's a little snapshot of each layer on its own. So it's nice. And I can get a visual. We're visual. We're the future designers and illustrators, etc., media makers of the world. We are. So first thing I want to do is show you how to import or bring in another image into this file. So I'm going to ask you to open up something else. File, open, go back to the same folder. It'll automatically go back to the last folder you were in. But I don't want this one where I just was at. You're going to go to, let's see, I have it up here. Art Student or your desktop if you have it on your desktop. Yeah, Photoshop or Beach. That's the file I'm looking for. I'm going to open it. There it is. I'm going to do that 2 up, or you can just pop these out like this. And you notice in this layer, there's no background layer. You know, when I go to this one, I should have said file. There's a background layer and it's locked. You can turn a regular layer into a background layer. The difference is this won't have any opacity. It won't be clear at all. It's like solid, and it comes in locked. So like it's like the piece of paper behind all of these transparencies, so to speak. What I want to do is simply rename this by double clicking here. Try it. I want to call this Beach. Trying to stay organized. You can get moving so fast that you go, and I can drag either the layer or the picture itself. See, it's not locked, so I can move it. Just drop it right in. It's super easy, super nice. All right, you got that? So now when it comes in, it's already called Beach. I'll take this file here, make this one active, and close it without saving. I'm just going to say close. No, don't change anything, and leave that as it was, fresh and new for somebody else. All right. So we want to add a border to this. This is easy, and we're focusing on the layers panel. And the layers panel, if you could only have one panel, I would say this would be the one to have. Always have it open, and you can do a lot with it. I'm going to transform this. It's too big. So I'm going to say, let's go to Edit, Free Transform. And notice the options bar changes up here, and you get a bounding box with these little corners on it telling you I'm ready to transform. I want to do like a 50% scale on this. I'm actually just going to type it in 50 and make sure my width also says 50%, which it does because this little link, this chain link is on the affirmative, meaning whatever I do here, it will, equally do the same in the other dimension. It's good. I'm hitting enter. Well, before I do, if you already did, fine, just hit Control T. That's the shortcut for free transform. And there's also a box here for rotation. If I just type in 15 and hit Tab or Enter, I'll get a 15-degree rotation right to, clockwise. If I hit negative 15, it'll go counterclockwise. Okay, I wanted 15. And now I'm going to put that border on it that I was talking about a couple seconds ago. I'm going to ask you to make sure you have the Beach layer selected. Go down to the bottom of the Layers panel and hit FX. Choose Stroke. I'm going to choose a different color just so you can see it better for a second, and then I'm going to make it white. So these are the settings that I'm using. I'm going to do a 5-pixel stroke. You can just use the slide control and see what happens. But look, it's oriented so that it goes to the inside, which I don't want. I want it on the outside. If you use the inside, though, it'll give you like these really nice corners. It's based on the image you have. I want to go outside. See what that's doing? I don't like that, though. Center. I'm still getting a rounded corner. So I'm actually going to choose inside, and if I have it at 63, if I just choose 5, That's good. It's trying to make it look like it's like a snapshot, you know, like a photo you took while you were on vacation, isn't it? And there's different settings here. Learn what they mean. Blend mode, we're about to learn more about, but just set it to normal. That just means it'll be pure solid white pixels. You can affect the opacity if you want it to like fade out a little. In this case, it's trying to look like, you know, like a Polaroid picture or something like this. And I'm going to choose white, pure white. F, 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 F will make pure white if you type it in here in the hexadecimal code box, or just choose white and say OK. All right. Say OK. Yes. He's nagging me when it makes that sound. It's like, hey, you're supposed to say OK. Okay, so rearranging the layers. I want this. Oh, let's show some more of these layers. Let's show the flower. We'll turn the eyeball on. I'm not ready for this yet. We'll get to that in a second. This little stamp, you know, let's leave that up for a couple seconds. I'm going to situate this little card, this little picture, so it's under the flower but above the pineapple. So just click on it in the layer stack and drag it, and you'll see a little blue line appear. Oh, do you want it here? Oh, you think you could put it there? Yeah, go ahead. And there it is. Okay. This looks a little fake right now, this black stamp. So we're going to affect the opacity of it and the blending mode. So let's do opacity first. We're still in layers panel. Let's take it down to like 25%. Not you. See what happens? Here, this guy. You gotta make sure you're in the right layer. Photoshop has kind of made me lazy as an artist. Not lazy, but kind of like less organized in a way, because I know I can undo anything. So sometimes I just slam things around. It's like, oh, if I make a mistake, I just hit Control Z or go back and I can do it again. So sometimes it's the media you use, in this case it's Photoshop, can alter your behavior and the way you work. And think about it. If I would have tried to do that, I would have had to, in some other way, I would have think it out in advance and make sure I do it right. I can't do it again if I'm doing it with like pen and ink or something like that. Well, that's nice. You know, that's actually very nice. It's why people use computers to make work, digital artwork, because of the powerful ability to edit and re-edit and re-edit. Okay, so not only do I want to change the opacity of this, I'll also like to change the blending mode, and this can be found here. It's set to normal, just like when we were in the FX panel. You can choose any of these blending modes, and they all do something different. You can just like hover over them and see what's happening. I'm going to end up using multiply because it kind of makes anything that isn't black invisible. Or I might use overlay. That's too faint. And it's going to vary depending on the order the layer, you know, is in and what's under it. Let's just choose multiply. As long as it's looking faded out, you know, like the ink was like not too strong when they put that postage mark on there. They put this on a stamp to show that the stamp's been used. So in the old days, people would use a stamp and they would try to pull it off of the envelope and use it again. So that's why they had to put a postmark on it to show that it's canceled. Okay. So as long as we're on blending modes, let's show how they can be used to improve the quality of an image. So I'm going to hide everything else except the pineapple. If you have a bunch of layers up and you want to be quick about it, you can actually just hit Alt and click the eyeball, and it'll hide everything else. Okay, this pineapple has already been masked and cut out from its background, so you have the pineapple all on its own. Anytime you see the checkerboard pattern, that indicates there's transparency there. Okay, which is another nice thing to have in Photoshop. So I'm going to duplicate this layer. There's a few ways to do it. You could choose layer, duplicate layer. If you want to go the slow way, you can go ahead and choose, I'm getting a little lag on my screen. Wait a second. There we go. You can drag the layer you want to copy and drop it onto the new layer icon, or you can hit if you're on a PC, you can hit Control J. And then I'm going to change the blending mode of this duplicate. It's making sense to you, right? To overlay. It's making sense to you, like you're taking another copy and you're making it like somewhat different transparency. The highlights and the darks are emphasized now. And you're putting it on top of the other one. It's like two pictures, and it's going to be stronger than one, right? So look at the difference. I'll take it away, and now I'll show it. It's quite nice. It's a little more robust. You take this for granted when you see it. You won't even notice it, but you won't notice that the picture of the pineapple looks bad. You just see a nice postcard, and you have a beautiful, beautiful pineapple there. This is what happens all the time. You know, you see a nice ad in a magazine or something, and it looks really good. You don't say, oh, look, they must have done a lot of work. You just notice that it looks good. So let's take the chance now to do a save. File, save as. I've already done a save as, but I just want to re-emphasize you need to rename and change the location with your files. Okay. And I've already done that, so I'm just hitting save. It's going to ask me, do you want to replace? Yeah. You can just hit Control S if you've already done that for a quick way to save or file save. You should save as you go in case your computer crashes. It doesn't happen too much with Photoshop, but it happens a lot with After Effects, or it used to. I haven't had too many crashes lately in After Effects. I'd say I used to have 10 crashes a week, and now I think I only have like one. So maybe they're making it better. And you'll learn about that later in class. So let's do something super fun. I want to create a new layer above the background layer where I'm going to make some clouds. So choose the background layer, and we know Photoshop will make the new layer above whatever layer you're in by default. And of course, you could put it anywhere after that. But I want you to come over to your tool panel and your color picker. There's a foreground and a background. And some people, inquisitive class members, might say, why is there a foreground and a background color? I don't get it. Well, here, let's show a reason why. Make sure the background is white, and then double click the foreground and pick like a sky blue. Think of a beautiful blue sky on a tropical day, you know, on the beach. I think that's pretty close. You decide. So I have blue here and white here. Now that I have it and I'm on my blank layer, I'm going to call it sky because that's what it's going to be. I'm going to choose filter render, which just means to make, and I'm going to choose clouds. Now when these clouds come out, I don't know if I'm going to like them. Yeah, they're pretty nice. Let's hide everything except the clouds. Yeah, I'm digging them. They're groovy. I'm going to resize them. I want to make them like, I want to make it look like they're a little bigger. So see, I can work outside of the image area. What happens if I rotate these? I want the puffy one to be up here. Yeah. I might make the blue a little darker just so the clouds show up. Let's just do it. I want to see. That pineapple's so huge. That's not too bad. Let me go back because I feel like it just looks like blue. There's no contrast. I want a little bit more contrast. I'll go to the history panel. I have it set so that my last 20 steps show up. I'm going to go back to where I changed the name. All right, and I can keep going through these until I do something new. I'm going to hide everything but that. I'll make this blue slightly darker. All I need to do is, like I'm going to sample it, is go to the right a little bit. Because the white's going to mix with the blue and make that lighter, so I'll do it again. Filter, render. It's just personal preference. You know, I'm not going to grade anybody on how much contrast there is in your clouds, but as you work, you're going to find you want things just so. It all matters. There we go. There's beautiful clouds. It's like I'm lying on the beach looking up at the sky. I think that's cool. I thought that was cool when I first learned that. I said, oh, you can make these clouds. And that's good for making smoke and stuff too. Anything that would be misty like that, you can do more. You can blur it and so forth. I hide this flower for now. All right, we're almost done. The next thing I want to show you is how to add a gradient. I'm going to zoom in on the word Hawaii, which I've just made visible. Maybe not that much. Move this over. And now I'm going to select just this. Now, we learned last time we did something like this, that we could use the magic wand tool. Choose non-contiguous, meaning they don't touch. And I can select and it's fixed anything that's the same color in that layer. And since it's all white, it did quite a nice job. That only took about 5 seconds, but it's too slow for me. I will just press Control and click on the area in the thumbnail. And look, it does the same thing. Now in this case, I'm going to apply a gradient. Again, like I said, with layer effects, gradients, watch how, cheesy you're being. Use sophistication and subtlety. You could go crazy with this, and that's kind of appropriate for this if you do, because it's tropical. So if I do a rainbow gradient, I think that might work. I don't want this. So what I'm doing right now, I didn't mention it. I'm choosing the gradient tool. It's right here. Let me go like this. Get yours just like that. See where it is? Like right in the middle, but it's nested underneath the paint bucket. It's like the paint bucket, except it gets on a gradient. So I'm going to try to find something bright. Okay. Look at all these blues. Oh, this is pretty nice. You can open these folders and find ones that are preset. I think this works for me, for my intentions. I'm gonna go with this pinkish orange. Once I have that, I can click and drag the gradient tool across, and you see what it does. Okay, it makes a beautiful transition, continuous tone, and this is why pixel artwork is popular. It can make a very smooth transition because these tiny little pixels are just changing ever so slightly as they move from one side to the other. If you want to just make your own, I'll choose a foreground and a background color. I'm going to go like orange and yellow. Okay. And then in the gradient color picker, I can just choose foreground to background under the basics. It's the very first one. They don't have that labeled. I wonder if there's a screen tip. Yeah, see, when I hover over it, it says foreground to background, and go foreground to transparent. Can't cover it all right now, but anything you want to do, trust me, and 99% of the time they thought of it. See what I've done right there? Now I'll hit Control D to deselect. Okay. Last thing to do, or almost the last thing to do, is I'm going to ask you to type in something on your own. So click the text tool. Since I'm on this layer, when I click, I'm going to click only one time. I'm not drawing a text box. This is called point type. I'm going to type in Island Paradise. You can type whatever you want. Think of a little secondary line. You know, you have your initial title, and then you have this subtitle. It could say, you know, the Pineapple Paradise, or Land of the Lay, or the, you know, Hula World. What are you gonna say? I don't care. But like maybe 2 words that are kind of long enough, because I want to stretch these across the bottom. And pick a color. I'm going to pick like a bright green or grassy green. And see that bright green's showing up pretty nice. And it kind of complements. I could sample a color out of there, but see, that might hurt my ability for it to stand out. It might blend in too much. I'm liking this. It's up to you. I want to choose a different typeface. I could go to the options panel, but the character panel is so much more powerful. And I'm like, I get jazzed up over this. I'm like, I can't believe how much I can do, and everything I want to do is here. I'm going to change the size to like a 36 point. Look, I'm just going to rub my mouse over the icon here until it gets to be the size I want, or type it in. I was pretty good with the mouse. I got it to 35 and click 36. I'm going to use this typeface called Birch. You can use something like it. See, Birch is taller and skinnier, but I'm going to stretch it out, and that's why I picked it. I think it's a good complement to this. It's a sans serif, like show card, like, you know, title font. It's not. It looks like a hand-drawn font. You wouldn't use this in like body copy or anything like that for stuff like this. But I'm going to now track it out. So this is your tracking. And now all the spacing, I think I'm going to do like, let's see, I'll try faux bold, which if you don't have a bold for your typeface, if it's not available, you can choose faux bold. It just makes it bold, thicker. And choose all caps. I don't know, I like all caps. Maybe I'll try small caps. No, sometimes that looks really awesome. Not in this case. And now that I've done all caps, I'm seeing like it's not doing what I want it to do. I want it to be just as wide. I'm going to pull a ruler out from here from the border. If you don't have that showing, hit Control R or View Rulers. I'm going to hit Control R. You can see it appear or disappear. View Rulers. You don't have to have the rulers for this. Now I'm just going to, in this, I don't even have to have it selected, I don't think. Yeah, see, I don't even have to have it selected because I have the layer active. I'll do like a 200 track. And it looks like I need to be like a 190. Tab or Enter. That's fine. And if I go to the Move tool, I can nudge with the keyboard. You can see it. Well, I'm actually just nudging the height now by accident. That was weird. Go back to the Move tool, get out of there, click away. Now, since I have the Move tool on, I can press Shift if I want to go down 10 pixels. Now look, it's bright over here, but it's dark over here, so I can't see anything as well as I want to. So I'm going to use an effect, drop shadow. I think I'll choose the color, not black, like maybe whatever this is, like a dark, very dark brown. It's going to complement. It's going to look like black. It's just something I do. And I'm adjusting the shadow. You can see what's happening. It's getting bigger, but it's too fuzzy. Go, push the opacity up, change the angle, distance. It's way too big. See now, the smaller I make the size, the tighter it gets. I'll reduce the distance. And then I just want to get just enough. Like I said, be careful. I think that's good, but I'll lower the opacity a little. That's enough. And now I'm going to copy that effect over to Hawaii too. We did this in class before. We're going to press Alt and drag and drop on there. And look at that. It looks terrific. I'm going to hit Control 0, Control the number 0 to make it just as big as it can be and still see everything. We could do more than this, but this video is starting to get long. I'll accept this as you having completed it. I want you to choose your own colors for this, okay? And do this all, your own phrase, your own colors for this. This way I know you did it, you know, and that's your work. And you put your own stamp on it. No pun intended. So before you turn it in, please save it as a JPEG or flatten it, and then you can give it to me as a Photoshop. I think let's just say JPEG. I'm going to say File, Save As. I'm in my folder. I'm choosing JPEG here. Okay. JPEG will be one layer, you know, automatically. It can't support multiple layers. I'm going to call this Nailits 04. I'm going to call it postcard. Can you do this with yours? We put your name here, and then I want you to turn that into me in Google Classroom. When I ask for the Hawaii postcard, you can just upload that. All right. And I'll create an assignment for you to upload that file, and I'll tell you how great of a job you did. Okay. When I go to my desktop, I'll be able to see it. There it is, Nailits 04 postcard. And that's worthy of printing. I'm not, you know, now I see it, I might have done it differently, but hey, we're just practicing. Good. All right.